Germany, Miss Chairwoman of the Swiss Parliament. I would like to start with what happened today. Russian military, the railway terminal in the city of Kramatorsk. This is an ordinary railway terminal. People crowded, waiting for their trains to be evacuated to the safe territory. They hit these people. There are witnesses, there are videos, there are remnants of the missile and dead people. About 30 killed and 300 wounded as of this moment just there. Again, this is just a rank and file railway, an ordinary town in the east of Ukraine. This is how Russia came to protect the Donbass, how they view the protection of the Russian-speaking population. And this is the fate of our reality. After 8 years of war in the east of Ukraine, I would like all of us to commemorate with the moment of silence who were killed by Russian missiles, Russian bombs, and Russian arms. Thank you. Thank you. Russia, through all the capable forces of their army from all their territory, from the Far East, to fight. But this wasn't enough. So Russia is pulling together all the people who can hold arms to continue their aggression against Ukraine. They're looking for mercenaries. They're sending the militants from all the terrorist groups and private armies that were established by some of the Russian officials. We have so many people among the prisoners, very experienced fighters and just the youngsters born in 2003. But no one can adequately explain this war against Ukraine. Why do they need to hit civilians with missiles? Why this cruelty that the world has witnessed in Bucha and other cities by Ukrainian army? More than 200,000 of occupiers on our territory. There were lots of people who consciously were raising their hands up, who were injuring themselves to go to the hospitals and avoid fighting. But the majority is fighting, not knowing what are they fighting for on our land. An absolutely insane and absolutely cruel war is waged, and sometimes you're not human at all. Yesterday, the Russian soldiers just shelled a boat with the peaceful people in Kakhovka water reservoir, trying to save their lives by being evacuated, and they shelled them with missiles. These are dozens of meters away from the shore of the river, and they hit them with missiles. So in all the districts where the Russian army went in, there are hundreds of cars that were shot at and put on fire. They did see that these are just ordinary people. There is no danger, but they still were shooting. There are many examples with civilians that were simply crashed by the armored vehicles, just ran over them. You have seen what Russian military in the city of Bucha, but they're doing this butchery of this sort in Mariupol and Kramatorsk and Kharkiv and Kherson. And I think you do understand, will get the order to invade your country. They will do the same with your country as well. This is something I don't want you to witness. They will do the same what they did in the city, to your cities as well, to the cities of any country. Whatever the Russian Federation authorities will decide, as if this is their fire. And even if Russian soldiers will not understand why they need to do this, they will still keep on fighting, because this is hatred. This is the hate people that is being nurtured among the people of Russia on the national level. Ladies and gentlemen, in your history, you have seen the invasion of Russia and this threat is still there. We have to do our best to make sure that this is not repeated again. The war of Russia against Ukraine is decisive not only for the future of our nation, but all those who have a common border with Russia. Just like you, 83 years ago, Ukraine has the bravery to defend itself against such a power which is numerically superior. There are simply too many of them, numerically speaking. They have a lot of equipment and a lot of missiles who can be thrown to war, and a lot of oil and dollars and euro that are spent for the propaganda of aggression. But just like your courage rescued your country from the Stalin invasion, similarly, our courage resists this invasion. 40 have been doing so, but lots of things have to be done more. Unlike the Second World War, the democratic world understands that you can not blind eye on the inspection of the tyranny. If the people are fighting for their freedom, they need to be supported. But and these things and these concepts more than some influential leaders, smaller countries understand it better than some of the bigger countries. We have to consist the people of the world that such sanctions against Russia are needed, sanctions that will not be able to be bypassed and sanctions that will stop their machinery. We still have to ask for the assistance and the armament, and what we hear in response that we still have to wait for the fighter jets to come, anti-missile, anti-ship equipment to be delivered. They are telling us that we need to wait in the situation when we are losing hundreds of people on this of the Russian attacks, when dozens of our cities have been destroyed. We still have to wait when more than 10 million people have to wait. In the reality, when more than 3 million have left their countries out of 10 million IDPs. Together, we need to do our best to make sure that these people will be able to come back home. We need to stop Russia. We need to stop the war to make sure that peace is brought back to Ukraine and Russia leave our sovereign territory. And this is something we cannot wait for. They tell us that we have to wait, but I have a question whether we who are killing Ukrainians are to be held accountable, and those who are making us wait for the things that we need, wait for the means of protecting our lives, wait for weapons. And I'm very grateful to Finland that you didn't wait when this invasion of Russian Federation started, that you were very quick to help, that you made a historic decision of providing a defense support to Ukraine, for showing a principled position in sanction questions, that you are moral leaders of our anti-war coalition. But would like you to show even more leadership, both on the level of the European Union and bilaterally countries of the EU, to support our fight for freedom, for our common freedom. At the time when we have this, when the tyranny is losing against in the war against Ukraine, and this will be the biggest contribution in the security of Europe, and therefore one of the biggest contribution to the security of your country. Therefore, we need weapons that some of the EU partners have. We need powerful, efficient sanctions against Russia on a permanent basis. A sanction cocktail that's just like Molotov cocktails. Please insist on that. And I'm grateful to the Finnish companies who already ceased to their operation in the Russian market, but the economic ties with this country. And I urge you to pressure all of your companies who continue supporting Russian war machinery through their and excise taxes paid in Russia. We need to isolate all the Russian banks from the international banking system. We cannot be limited just by partial response to the Russian threat in Europe, threat to the democratic world, because the freedom will not survive if we leave channels that will be fed by these sources of income. And we about how to protect Europe from the Russian energy weapon. Every educated person knows that the times of the fossil is in the past. We cannot rely on coal and oil. We have to look for new sources of energy. And if Russia is abusing their energy resources to finance aggression nations and spreading hatred around the world, it means this should be an additional powerful incentive to speed up all the decisions. How much longer can the Europe ignore the introduction of embargo against oil supplies from Russia? How much longer? This is the big question environmental and military sectors are looking forward to. And I want you to ask this question very loudly to all the European unions for such a decision to actually be made. The world knows different modalities how this can be done. And if Europe doesn't want physically to stop these supplies now, if you're not prepared to do that, although this is still inevitable, this is the first step. You need to introduce the scheme of restricting the money flows for oil to Russia. It should be accumulated on the special accounts, assessing them. Let Russia first bring peace and be held accountable for the military crimes, and then get hold of their oil and dollars and gas and euro. So let them first remember what the Helsinki spirit is and restore that Helsinki spirit. And only after that, they can start the discussion about economic issues if need be. And when we are talking that we need to stop the war, when we're saying that, I think this is something very clear to all the cultures in the world. And this is a clear message in different languages. In Ukrainian, I think there's no one who would not understand what it means, especially also if you say this in German, in Arabic or Chinese or any other matter. We share this common value. The war is equally evil for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Finland, I do believe that common sense will win and that together we will be able to protect freedom and Ukraine. This is why we need to rebuild our country after this war. The world knows about the leadership role of your country and your nation in the education sector. You have developed such an educational sector that allows you to protect personal freedom of the human being, make them educated, teach them respect to other people and an environment and the globe. And this is something we have to learn and other countries have to learn. And in the 1.5 months of Russian aggression, 928 education facilities have been destroyed or damaged, kindergartens, schools, universities. I welcome you and your companies, your experts, to join building of our educational sector and join the efforts of modernization of education in Ukraine. We have to do our best that even after this super cruel against our our people would still have kind hearts and to be open to the rest of the world. I believe in this because the hatred has to take over at first in Ukraine and then all over the world where the tyranny will try to raise up their head. Thank you to Ukraine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your powerful message and brave leadership. This Parliament and Finland as a whole in supporting Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty and independence. It is also our responsibility to urge Ukraine to defend and to fight for free and independent Ukraine. You are not only fighting for your country, but for all of us. For these reasons, Finland has humanitarian and financial aid for the first time in our history submitted military assistance to a country at war, to Ukraine. Because Ukraine's cause is ours and because your case is just. As our Prime Minister recently stated, the question is not if Ukraine wins, but when Ukraine wins. Mr. President, you can count on our unwavering support. We support your thoughts and agree on a ceasefire and provide humanitarian relief and corridors. We support your demands to Russia to stop the fight and withdraw from Ukraine. And once the peace has entered, we will be there with you to rebuild even stronger Ukraine, just like you want, with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.